Okay guys, so I've been using this table saw for about 5-6 months now, and I love everything about it except for one particular thing. The rip capacity, even when you open it up, I need more. I always wanted a cabinet saw, but since I break the saw down every time I'm doing something in the garage, I can't afford to get a cabinet saw and leave it in the middle of the garage and have it extend out 50 inches. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna be taking this fence off, extending the rip capacity by using the Vega Pro 50, which is gonna give me tubes and rails that come out to the side here, a new Biedermeier style fence that's going to give me not only a straight edge every time I use it, but it's also going to allow me to cut up to 50 inches rip capacity on the right side of the blade. Okay, so we got the first part of the fence off. We gotta get the rear off. Hold on to this stuff. You never know if you're gonna need it. So put it in a safe place. Don't let it disappear. And definitely make sure you don't lose any hardware. So, we got the front rail, we got the rear rail. Got our fence. Here's the rear rail right here. Tubular. Now if you notice, it has these plates on the other side, and as that goes against the fence, when we bolt it onto the fence, what's going to happen is you're going to have it leaning off to that one side. This is all going to be open space because we don't have a table for it. So we're going to, later on in another video, I'm going to make a side table, lay right in there, be level with the top of the table saw, and it'll kind of be like an extension wing, and that'll allow me to cut the pieces easy and lay flat with the saw. Alright, so when we get this out of the box, we'll start putting. Now, of course, like anything else, it's never easy. My saw doesn't have the recommended drill holes for the bolts, so I had to measure out, raise up the blade, and 8 to 9 inches from the right of the blade, bring it down with a T-square and mark it down here, and then 1 3/16 from the top of the table to this spot right here, and that's 16 inches across over here, and now I have to drill 2 holes, and I'm sure in the back I'm going to have the same problem. So I'm going to mark everything out, we're going to drill the holes, and then we're going to attach everything. And then the rest shouldn't be too bad after that. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill this in steps. So it needs to be 3/8 in diameter, so I have a 3/8 bit, but I also have a 1/4 inch bit first. I'm going to make a small hole, and then I'm going to hit it with the 3/8 to make the diameter. It'll be a little easier to drill out that way. I'm also going to take a center punch and give myself a nice starting point here. This way the drill has a guide, somewhere to go into. All right, let's get going. Of course, it helps to have a nice titanium bit. Now the 3/8. Okay. I'm just going to try to get these close. They want them about a 16-inch down from the top of the table. So I'm just going to get it relatively close, and then we can adjust it with this bottom screw here. Now, all right, here's a little tip with this one. Don't run the bolts all the way out that they give you. They're already screwed into the rail, the front rail. What you want to do is just take it out enough on the rear one so that you can slide it in, and then you can line up your holes on the front and adjust it by moving it back and forth to get your correct measurements and lock it in place. They also have 3 pre-drilled holes here because they told you 8 to 9 inches. So I guess that's because of the width of the fence. Right now I have it at 8 inches. I probably could have even went a little more. I could probably went 8.5, split the difference, and it would have been perfect. So right now, obviously, we're not level because we need to tighten everything up and cinch it down. But what I'm gonna do is after I get it secured to the brackets, that's when we're gonna do all our final adjustments. Now that I have it in the place where I want it, I'll snug it up to these brackets using a 1/2 inch socket here, just so I know that it's not going to go anywhere. Now the fine tuning will happen now with this locked in place. As you can already see, this is just the front rail, so this is going to give me up to 50 inches rip capacity. All we got to do, build a side table. All right, so the front rail's in. Now they want it a 16th of an inch from the top, which is just barely, actually, you know what? Because there's a bevel here, I'm actually not even gonna have to go crazy adjusting this thing. The bevel is a 16th of an inch off the top of the table. So all I gotta do, move these up, set it right to that bevel line, and I know I'm 100%, 16th of an inch down. Let's take care of that right now. And you can do that by taking your socket and adjusting the screw on the bottom. Tighten up the screw on the bottom. It'll actually pull the rail up exactly where I need it. And I'm just going to go level with that line, which I'm perfectly level with it right now, right there. I'm going to do this side, and once I have this side in place, I'm going to lock them both up. Okay, so the rear rail got a little tricky. What they call for, obviously, is the same 16 inches to install to the back of the table for the rear rail, but they give you these long bolts because they have to fit through the tube, and then they have to go into the back of the table. Problem is, if I put that through there, they're too long, and they're going to hit the back of the table, giving me no clearance to put on the lock nut and the washer. So what I did was, I unbolted the tabletop from the saw, lifted it up, and put the bolts in first through the table, and I'm going to run them through, and now I can just easily tighten it up with the nut. Alright, so now I'm going to bolt the table back down, and then we'll be ready to install the rear rail. And then from there on in, you know, all we're going to do is set up the fence. We're pretty much done. Okay, now, so for the rear rail, they want a clearance of 7/16. So I'm going to obviously have to raise this up a lot. And worst case scenario, if I can't reach the desired height that they're giving me, I have to add some spacers in there, maybe some washers or something to bump the rail up. Not a problem. Let's get to adjusting. Okay, 7/16, so we're a bit off here. Looks like I have enough room, so let's get it. All right, so first thing I did here is I laid the fence out, and now what we want to do, they want you to remove the spacers and the Allen head screws that they put into the locking cam. Let's just get those all out of the way. Now it's a good thing I have set of Allen keys because they did not give me the adjustment. To get this next step in order and attach the fence, we need to pull this end cap off here and pull off this fancy cover they have over the rip fence. So it's just 2 Phillips head screws. Just move it out of the way, and this whole assembly slides right out. Let's move that to the side. Keep the screw there. Probably could leave that in place for now. Put it back when I'm done. So we don't lose any screws, I'll put that back. Now I have the spacers. In case you can't see it, spacers are positioned right over the drilled and tapped holes on the cam of the fence. I have the cam locked down. Have my 4 Allen bolts, and they're going to get bolted in now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of align it here. Okay, so now that I got them through, I'm basically going to just snug them up until they're hand tight. I'm not going to go any further than that because we're going to set it up to level off. And there's a way to do that in the instructions, and we're going to follow that because I want this thing to cut straight every single time. Otherwise, what would be the point? All right, so they're snugged up. Okay, so according to the instructions, what they want you to do is line the fence up, loosen the cam, and they want it exactly lined up with the miter gauge slot. Okay, so what I did was they suggest that when you're tightening it down and you clamp the cam and you line it up with the miter slot, you either hold in place or clamp one edge on the opposite end. So what I did was I clamped the edge in over there, and now when I tighten this up, it won't move and everything should be perfectly square. Then obviously we're going to raise the blade and we're going to check that. Always check square. Otherwise all the hard work will be for nothing. You'll be cutting rip cuts crooked and all your projects will come out like crap. Now I'm going to do here to make this a little tighter, I'm going to take a box wrench. I'm going to put it on the top of the Allen key. Able to get more torque that way and tighten it down more. Just go until you feel it give you a little bit of a struggle. Don't go too far because if you go much further than it allows you to, you could snap the head of the bolt. You don't want to do that. I'm going in a crisscross pattern also, tightening the bolts. Doesn't recommend that, but just a little bit of a rule of thumb. It'll help you tighten it down evenly. You want even clamping pressure when you tighten. Same thing kind of like when you put tires on a car. Go in a star pattern. So evenly place it on there. Okay, so now should be able to take this clamp off. And according to my manual, it shouldn't move. What I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my blade up and we're going to check it. Alright, so I'm unlocking the cam, slide the fence, and she's square. And now, what I'm going to do is a final adjustment here. I'm going to actually set my tape measure. So I'm going to go right up against the blade and not put too much pressure there. Lock it down. I'm going to zero everything out by loosening these screws. Okay guys, I'm up to the final portion of the installation here. I'm just going to put this back. Going to put the plate back on. Then we're going to do one final check on this thing. And the final check is going to be to make sure that the tape measure is exactly where it's supposed to be. By measuring from the blade to the fence and looking at what kind of a measure. Okay, so I'm going to set the saw to 4 inches just to see how close we are here. Exactly 4 inches to the right side of the blade, right where the kerf is. So if I lock that down, and it's 100% parallel right now with the miter slot. So we know we're going to get a nice straight cut. And after locking it, I'm still at 4 inches. So I'm going to say this is definitely a good install if you have a contractor saw and you're looking to get a lot of rip space on extension. In the next video, we're going to build the extension table. The directions actually tell you the measurements on what you need to lay it in here. Okay guys, so this was a little bit difficult, this install. It took a little more than an hour. I had to drill some extra holes that weren't there, but all in all, I'd say it was well worth it. I'm going to get accurate rips up to 50 inches to the right of the saw. I'm going to build in the next video an extension table here out of plywood. They actually give you the measurements in the direction, so we're going to do that. So definitely worth the money. Definitely check it out, and I'll see you guys next time.